4 meteorologist Kim Adams. A much nicer evening commute for you with sunshine. Temperatures right now still below normal, but that's all about to change. We'll talk about a big warm up in a few minutes.
All right. Also, one man's sex abuse allegations are heading to Michigan's highest court. We're going to talk about why his case could affect many others. And here's Paula.
Here's something you don't see every day behind the scenes at Hospital Nutrition. But we're actually here to talk to this guy over here because he's doing a really important thing. He's trying to change the world. And he's actually gotten some pretty decent volleys to get it started.
Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News First at 4 starts now.
Good afternoon. I'm Karen Drew. First at 4, Michigan Supreme Court has agreed to hear a sexual abuse case involving a priest who was once with the Catholic Diocese of Lansing. Now, this is a case that could really set a precedent for other abuse victims. Attorney Ben Johnson held a news conference this morning to lay out what is at stake. He says this is a battle over how to interpret the statute of limitations of abuse cases. Brian McLean says he was abused by Father Richard Lobert. It was back in 1999 while McLean attended the W.J. Maxey Boys Training School in Whitmer Lake. Courts have been divided over whether he filed the suit in a timely manner. Johnson explained why that takes time.
The majority of child sex abuse victims who disclose their abuse delay disclosure until adulthood. Why? Because they're surviving. They can't process it. They can't deal with it. They are simply trying to live.
Johnson says the court's decision will set a legal precedent by interpreting a 2018 amendment on how long other victims have to take legal action. Voters in Detroit could be shuffled around a little bit. City Council will hold a virtual meeting tonight to discuss 5 different redistricting plans. Now, we've seen a series of meetings that could mean some Detroiters end up in different city districts for the 2025 elections. Now, the hope is to fairly divide the city's 639,000 residents evenly between 7 districts. The council hopes to have a plan ready by the new year. Also, in the new year, drivers beware of new parking enforcement in new residential parking zones. First up, the Cass Park and Selden zones on January 2nd, then the Southern Brush Park zone January 16th. The Central Brush Park zone starting in February. Residents in these areas will have permits, and those without need to follow posted restrictions. Also, starting January 2nd, the city will enforce parking safety violations on Sunday throughout the city. Now, here's one piece of good news. Metered parking in the city will still be free on Sundays. A liberal group in Michigan is still hoping to keep former President Donald Trump off the state's primary ballot in 2024. Free speech for the people is now going to the state's highest court. It argues the 14th Amendment should bar Trump because of his actions on January 6th. An appeals court disagreed. Similar challenges are underway in a handful of states, and it is likely one of them will end up at the United States Supreme Court. Right now, the coldest day of the week, almost over as we head into the evening. We've seen some sunshine trying to warm things up. That's a live look at Southfield right now. Kim Adams watching those temps in the first forecast. How are we doing?
Well, it's not too bad. I mean, we've just been kind of spoiled by above normal temperatures for quite a long stretch, but this is really more in line with where we should be. We should be around 36 degrees. We're just slightly below that. It's 36 downtown, but only 34 at the airport, a chilly 31 in Pontiac, 34 in Mount Clemens and also in Monroe. Freezing. Howell is at 32 degrees. Factor in the wind, feels like it's in the 20s, 26 in Howell. Current wind chill right now in Ann Arbor is 24, 25 at the airport, and 23 the current wind chill in Pontiac. Tomorrow we get a little bit warmer and we get our sunshine back. It'll be nice and dry if you have some travel plans for tomorrow. No problems here. We'll have sunshine throughout the day and a high of 40, and we're not done there. Take a look at our temperature trend. We stay above average, in fact 50 for Christmas Day. We'll talk more about some rain for the end of the week coming up.
All right, thank you, Kim. Well, if you are one of the millions of Americans flying during the holiday season, top transportation officials are working to give you reassurance that you won't be haunted by those travel meltdowns of the past. Kimberly Gill in the newsroom, getting the very latest. Also an update on how the FAA is trying to keep things running smoothly. We sure hope so, Kim.
That we do. Hi, Karen. Good afternoon to you. Last year, you remember Southwest Airlines was at the center of the travel chaos when bad weather triggered a chain reaction for that airline and others, leading to canceled flights, delays, and stranded passengers. Well, it seems like all parties are highly motivated vacated to avoid a repeat this year. You'll see larger crowds this year for sure. AAA is predicting more than 7 million people will be flying during the Christmas and New Year's time period. That's an increase of nearly 5% over last year. Just yesterday, we told you Southwest Airlines will pay $140 million for its role in the chaos of 2022. Well, now that airline says it's revamped operations and should be ready for anything. Today, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg and the head of the FAA outlined some reasons to be optimistic, and they include cooperating with the military.
We've opened military airspace that will be available for moving north-south traffic on the East Coast. We're cooperating with the commercial space industry to limit launches during peak travel season. And we've also opened up this year 169 additional East Coast routes to accommodate more traffic.
Winter weather will be a challenge. It will certainly be a challenge in the next few weeks. But even during the busiest days of Thanksgiving travel, cancellations stayed below 1%. In fact, so far this year, I don't want to jinx us, but so far 2023 has seen the lowest cancellation rate in the last 5 years.
Knock on wood, because we sure hope we didn't jinx anything by saying that. In the meantime, experts say to download your airline's app for quick updates and the best communication. Plus, follow all the travel tricks you already know for navigating large crowds and hope for the best weather possible. Karen, we'll send it back to you.
Oh, we sure hope so. All right. Thanks, Kim.
Sure thing.
Former Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day OConnor is being remembered as a powerful pioneer and a loving mother. The first woman to serve on the country's highest court was celebrated today at her funeral in Washington, D.C. Current members of the court were on hand to pay their respects, along with President Joe Biden, who was one of the speakers. He offers some personal comfort to her family.
I know the anniversaries and the birthdays, the moments big and small, will be hard without them. But as the saying goes, memory is the power to gather roses in winter. I hope you find the strength in knowing that your mom and dad are together again this December, gathering roses in winter once again as great Americans, both great Americans for all seasons. May God bless Sandra Day OConnor, an American pioneer.
OConnor died on December 1st. She was 93 years old. So many of us use sports to stay healthy, work off stress, also enjoy some friendly competition. Well, you're about to meet a young man who plays competitive tennis, even though he's paralyzed on one side of his body. Recently swept the 2023 Dallas International Para Standing Tennis Tournament, but tells Paula Tutman he has his eyes on an even bigger prize, but he can't do it alone.
You know, what's great about this story is the people who are trying to change the world for the better can be found in all kinds of places, including right here on the line behind the scenes at Hospital Nutrition. Here's the stuff you don't see every day, the hard work it takes to feed patients at a hospital.
Oh, Mediterranean, please.
Right there in the thick of the lunch rush, Danny Scrivano.
46? Oh.
While he wasn't born to work twice as hard as everyone else to do the basics, he has been at it since 2 years old, when a stroke left him paralyzed over 1/4 of his body. But what he was born as was a born athlete, so much so that despite his paralysis, he has excelled in most every sport he has ever tried. And then he took up tennis. It was like a duck to water.
I just came back from Texas, Dallas, Texas, and I got the gold in singles and in doubles.
We are all so proud of him. Whenever he has a tournament, we work together on the schedule to accommodate for his time off. He always comes back as a winner.
But he has gone as far as he can go, because the creme de la creme for every athlete is the Olympics, and it's no different for Danny, except in order to participate in the Paralympics, he would have to be wheelchair bound, because there is no standing adaptive tennis in the Paralympics. And so Danny is now working to change that.
In table tennis, they have wheelchair division and they have standing division. They should have that in tennis as well.
In the meantime, he is turning heads working full-time in the nutrition department at Corewell Health's Beaumont Hospital, Troy. It is hard, repetitive work made harder by the fact that Danny can only use half his body. Not that anyone would notice when he's flying through the line. And in fact, he says he prefers to do things the hard way.
When I'm training, I train against able-bodied people to get good practice, and then I play against the disabled people. So every day I just work hard, and I know every day I'm getting one step closer to my goal, which is the Paralympics. Every person that I go up against, all my opponents, come with some kind of barrier to overcome. And that's just the beauty of Paralympic sports.
I don't know if you caught that, but he says he likes to do things the hard way. That's what actually makes things easier for him further down the line. Paula Tutman, Local 4.
Danny says the fastest way to get the Paralympic rules changed is to get more participation in the sport. He also hopes with a groundswell of public support and a demand for the rules to change, it might happen in time for him to compete.